Mr. Botsford, if you would raise your right hand, please, before you sit down. Do you solemnly swear or affirm under penalty of perjury the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Yes, I do. Thank you. Have a seat. Good morning, Mr. Botsford.
Good morning.
How are you today?
Very good, thanks.
Can you introduce yourself to the jury, please?
My name is Jed Botsford. I work with the U.S. Forest Service.
Okay, and for the record, how do you spell your last name?
D-O-T-S-F-O-R-D.
All right. You said you work for the Forest Service. What type of work do you do for them?
I'm the Recreation Program Manager for the Columbine Ranger District on the San Juan National Forest.
And where is the San Juan National Forest generally?
Wolf Creek, the summit of Wolf Creek to Utah and the New Mexico border to Red Mountain Pass, roughly. That's the San Juan. The Columbine Ranger District is Red Mountain Pass to New Mexico, Lados to the Piedra.
Okay. Does that area include Middle Mountain?
It does.
And the Vallecito Lake Basin?
Yes.
How long have you been with the Forest Service?
Let's see, 2012, so 9 years.
Okay. And you said you're the Recreation Program Manager?
Yes.
What does that entail?
So all programs that are managed under recreation, so outfitter and guides, wilderness, trails, visitor information services. If somebody is doing something in one of those aspects, then I would be their supervisor.
Okay. Do you have oversight regarding the Middle Mountain area and the recreation programs there?
Yes, I do.
What does that specifically entail?
So in the Middle Mountain area, we have snowmobiling, we have OHV, ATV, UTV, over ground travel, and lots of hunting, outfitter and guides, travel management as a broad spectrum.
Fair to say you're knowledgeable about the Middle Mountain area?
Yes.
And do you know the sort of on-the-ground topography of Middle Mountain?
Yes.
Okay. Have you viewed a topographical map of Middle Mountain in preparation for your testimony in this case?
Yes, I have.
If I showed you that map, would you recognize it?
Yes.
May I approach with Exhibit 219? Yes. Do you recognize that, sir?
Yes, I do.
Is that map an accurate depiction of the topography of Middle Mountain in the Vallecito area?
Yes.
Are there some markings on that map as well?
Yes, there is.
You see a red line that's sort of snaking through the map?
Yes.
What does that represent?
That would represent Middle Mountain Road.
There's a red arrow. What does that arrow represent?
That would be the gate at Bear Eye Park.
And a purple line as well. What does that represent?
Those purple lines represent the OHV trails that are opened up 50-inch vehicles or less.
Okay, when you say an OHV vehicle, what does that mean?
ATV or a UTV that is 50 inches or less.
And what are those terms, those letters, what do those stand for?
Sorry, off-highway vehicle, all-terrain vehicle.
Okay. And can you describe what one of those might look like for those that don't know?
An ATV, all-terrain vehicle, would be 4 wheels typically. Used to be 3 wheels, 1 in front, 2 in the back. Now, single occupancy vehicle that has knobby tires and can climb up steep slopes. Okay. UTV would be typically a 2-passenger vehicle, like a miniature Jeep.
Okay, great. Back to the map, are all those lines and drawings and representations accurate to the area that you know?
Yes.
Move to admit People's Exhibit number 219.
Mr. Moran, or Bogan, excuse me.
Bogan.
Yeah, I should know you by now, huh?
No objection.
Thank you. It's admitted.
Move to publish to the jury. Yes. Exhibit 219. Mr. Botsford, we're putting the map up on the screen behind you. Is that the same map that you have there in front of you?
Yes, it is.
All right. I've got a pointer that's on the counter there in front of you. If you wouldn't mind extending that pointer, stepping down from the podium and using that microphone right behind you, and approaching the screen, please.
Okay.
And you can go ahead and take that microphone out of the stand if that's easier. If you could just scroll down a little bit lower. Can you show us where the start of Middle Mountain Road begins?
It would start right here.
And you're pointing to the bottom center of the map, is that right?
Correct. This would be County Road 501, and this would be the start of the dirt part of the road.
Okay. And
Middle Mountain.
and how would you describe Middle Mountain Road itself?
The first half mile is County Road, that is dirt, and just after, I can't see the beginning of the Forest Service land, but after the cattle guard, it's National Forest, all the way to the top, gravel surface. Forest Service would call it grade 3.
Okay. And there at the top of the map, we see that red arrow you described. Could you
Correct.
point that out to us, please? And what does that represent?
That represents a gate that is closed for travel management purposes on November 30th of every year, and does not open again until June 1st.
Okay.
So that prohibits wheeled vehicles during those closure dates of the winter.
Great. And as long as we're talking about the gate, let's just delve a tiny bit deeper into that. Does the gate reopen again in the winter?
Yes, it does. So the Middle Mountain Road is groomed by the San Juan Sledders, which is a volunteer snowmobile club in the area. And so when the snow depths reach 12 inches or greater, the San Juan Sledders can open the gate and groom the road for snowmobile traffic or any tracked winter vehicle.
And does that stay open then after 12 inches of snow accumulated and they've groomed it? Does it stay open all winter?
It'll stay open until the snow depths, until the club will no longer be able to groom the snow. Or until the snow depth is too small or it does not support the snowcat.
Okay, and then it closes
And then-
again.
And then either the club or the Forest Service would go up on snowmobiles and close the gate.
And then when does it reopen again in the spring?
June 1st.
Okay. Roughly when, during those winter months, roughly when does it close again?
It really depends on the year, snowpack, warm temperatures, but I would say roughly the end of March, first week of April.
Okay.
Snowpack is built out now.
Okay. There's also a purple line, several purple lines on this map. Can you describe those for us?
Yeah, those purple lines here represent the OHV trails that are accessed down here just below Barry Park.
Okay, let me stop you there. You pointed at a point on the map near a hairpin turn and described it as Barry Park. What is that?
Barry Park is basically Big Meadows area on Middle Mountain that are popular for camping, and they're devoid of trees.
Okay, so is it more of a flatter area? People might want to camp and bring their campers up there?
Correct.
Okay. Barry Park, and point that out for us again, please.
It would be, well, this switch back here, you can switch back up, and then open area in here, and a little bit of an open area right here.
Okay. Just to take a step back, how far is it from the start of Middle Mountain Road to where the gate is, roughly?
You got me there.
Okay. But like,
I would say 4+ miles.
okay, more than 4 miles. And the ATV trail you described, starting there at Barry Park, where does it intersect again with Middle Mountain Road?
Right here at this hairpin turn.
Okay, and that hairpin turn, is it fair to say that you can actually bypass the gate by going on the ATV trail?
Correct.
Okay. Does that ATV trail close during the winter?
It does.
Like, there's a physical obstacle, or it's just there's so much snow it's not usable?
There's a There's a physical obstacle currently,
Currently. Do you know if there was one in 2012?
not without checking the date of when we installed it.
Okay. For those that have never used a topographical map of this kind, can you describe very briefly how we're to interpret the very thin black lines that are all over that map?
Yes, so you have, can I sit down?
You may.
Okay. So if you think about a topographical map being a flattened version of the mountain. So I'm gonna show you my hand, and you can see my knuckles. If you picture these as being the mountains, and the valleys would be in between my knuckles, and then the rest of the hand is slopes. So if you draw rings around the top of each one of these in increments, like you see on the map, and then you flatten it out, you get the back of the hand. So the lines represent foot contour intervals. So on here, I can't tell exactly what it is, but they usually go in 20 feet increments. So the broader, the farther space between the lines, the flatter the terrain. The closer the rings are, or the lines are together, the steeper the terrain.
May I approach the screen, Your Honor? Yes. So the area you described is Bear Eye Park, right around here. We see fewer lines.
Correct.
What does that mean?
That means it's flatter because it takes a longer amount of time to gain the elevation between each ring.
And this area here, at the top of the valley of Vallecito Creek, those lines are very close together. What does that mean?
Which means it's very steep.
Is
And
that true in this area as well, on the other side of Vallecito Creek?
yes.
Can you describe the winter conditions on Middle Mountain? Does it get a lot of snow?
Middle Mountain gets a good amount of snow. There's a great amount of snowmobiling up there, from the very beginning of the road all the way to the top of the mountain.
And when the snow fills in and the San Juan sledders are allowed to reopen the gate, what does the grooming on the roadway look like?
Smooth, hard surface with lines that go down from the grooming operation. So on the back of the cat, there's essentially a rubber mat that puts grooms in the snowpack.
And do they groom the entire width of the roadway?
Correct.
Okay. Is that possible to drive a car up there in the winter?
It depends on when it was groomed last and the night temperatures before. But yes, 3 years ago, we had a gentleman who drove a small bus quite a ways up to just below the gravel pit on Middle Mountain.
Okay. At the risk of asking you to stand up again, can you show us where the gravel pit is on Middle Mountain, please? Middle Mountain Road?
Gravel pit would be located.
Thank you. So you can drive a car, and fair to say, then you could also drive an ATV up there in the winter as well?
Very much so. Once the snowpack warms up, that bus sunk into the snow and was stuck for days. So same thing with ATVs.
So you said that there's a lot of ATV usage up on this mountain,
Correct.
and the area is well known to locals as well?
Yes, it is.
No further questions. Thank you. Russ?
Mr. Botsford, you testified on direct that you're the recreation program manager for the Columbine unit, correct?
Yes.
And I'd ask the court permission to move between here and the map and all that good stuff, please. And I'd ask that 219 remain published, please. Permission to move about the court.
Yes.
And what we see on people's 219, we got Middle Mountain Road on viewers' right in the red, correct?
Correct.
And on viewers' left, the red road, what road is that?
That would be County Road 500 that leads from the junction of 501 to, it basically dead ends at the Vallecito campground.
And that, when you say it dead ends by Vallecito Campground, we even got Vallecito Campground on the map, correct?
That is correct.
And you've already shown that the jury wants, but I want to do it again. Where the map is, or where the gate is, correct?
That is correct.
That's denoted kind of like by that arrowhead, right?
Yes.
And what we can also see on this map is Runlet Park on the far right, correct?
Yes.
And there's also some streams we can see on this map as well, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And one of those, I believe, and I'm going to mispronounce it, because it sounds like I've been mispronouncing it for years. South, I want to call it Berry Park. Berry Park. South Berry Creek, correct? That's on this map?
Well, Bear Creek,
Okay.
yeah. Bear
That's
Creek.
actually South Bear Creek,
Correct.
and that runs from viewers left to right quite a ways up towards where this map shows the red line ends, correct?
Yes.
And when we look at the red line on the viewer's left, a bunch of little squares. Do those denote houses, habitations, that sort of thing?
Yes, it does.
And I believe you said during direct examination that this area, Middle Mountain, is popular for recreation. Is that right?
Correct.
And it's your job to oversee that and make sure that the land of many uses is being used appropriately.
Yes, it is.
And it sounds like this area is popular with off-road vehicle users, correct?
Yes, it is.
And you named the 3 kinds of vehicles. Also popular with day hikers.
Day hikers, hunters, backpackers, campers, rock climbers. A full spectrum of rock.
A full
recreation.
spectrum. And there's some mountain biking trails up there as well, correct?
Not specifically designed just for mountain bikes, but mountain bikes do use the trails.
Are they allowed up there?
Yes. Outside of the wilderness.
Hunters, hikers, some bikers, OHV users. It sounds like there's a lot of people up there recreating. Is that correct?
Yes, during the summer and fall, I would say yes.
And you spoke on direct about the gate that's denoted by the red arrowhead on people's 219. I want to talk about that for a second.
Okay?
And if I understand correctly, that gate is closed by U.S. Forest Service from November 30th to June 1st, correct?
That is correct.
And if I understand your testimony correctly, the only folks who would have the ability to unlock that gate would be U.S. Forest Service or the San Juan Sledders who have a key to it.
Correct.
And if I understand you, and aside from that, no one else is going to have a key, right?
Yes. I mean, essentially, yes. That's who should have the key, is the U.S. Forest Service and a representative from the San Juan Sledders.
And it sounds like the U.S. Forest Service has an understanding or an agreement with the San Juan Sledders about what conditions have to exist for them to unlock the gate and groom Middle Mountain Road?
Yes, they're under a, special use authorization in order to, one, have the key, number two, have the authorization to groom a National Forest System road.
And I take it part of that authorization is for them to unlock that gate during the winter months when there's snow up there. If I understand you correctly, there must be at least 10 inches of snow, correct?
12 inches.
Oh, I'm sorry, I misheard. There must be at least 12 inches of snow for the special use folks to unlock that gate.
That's correct.
Okay. And as you testified, San Juan Sledders, they're seeking to groom Middle Mountain Road so people can ride snowmobiles up there.
Yes.
And I think you referred to those, I guess some people call them snowmobiles, some people call them snow machines. I think you called them tracked vehicles. Or what did you call them?
So we refer to them as snowmobiles, but when the Forest Service talks about over snow travel management, there are tracked vehicles other than snowmobiles. So such as an ATV, you can put a track on an ATV.
Okay.
A set of tracks. You can also buy tracks for UTVs these days.
Meaning an owner of an ATV or a UTV could take off the knobby wheels and put on tracks, which look kind of like skis.
They would look much like a snowmobile track that goes around.
Oh,
So
okay.
there'd be 3 pivot points. The track goes all the way around all 3 and travels
Okay.
around.
So an owner of an ATV or UTV could take off the wheels and put on a track that looks kind of like what we see on a tank when we watch Saving Private Ryan, something like
Correct.
that. And
Except it would be rubber and not metal.
so primarily, if there's going to be travel on Middle Mountain Road during winter, it's going to be by means of snowshoes, cross-country skis, or tracked vehicles, correct?
That's correct.
And it sounds like the last time someone tried to drive a car up there, a wheeled vehicle up Middle Mountain Road during the winter months, that's an event that sticks out in your mind.
Yeah, it's not often you see a miniature bus, school bus, up, 5+ miles up the road.
And is that the last time you remember a vehicle going up there when there was those kind of conditions?
No, that's just an oddity. We have regular Joe Schmo in his vehicle, in a truck or a small SUV that try to drive on the groom all the time.
Right. When you say try to drive on the groom, it sounds like sometimes people in cars are successful in driving on the snow up on Middle Mountain Road, and sometimes they get stuck.
Correct. Well, once again, if the snowpack is cold enough and frozen and it's a cold enough night, they could drive up and drive out before. But if they try to drive up, let's say at 6 in the morning and turn around at 10, the snowpack is too warm at that point and they sink in. The key is the frozen temperatures.
So if someone wants to drive a car up Middle Mountain Road when there's snow up there, it's going to depend on the snowpack and the temperature and probably the kind of car they have as well.
Right.
And,
correct.
And anyone who drives up there during the winter is going to be taking that risk of getting stuck up there and having U.S. Forest Service or Sheriff Search and Rescue have to come get them if the snow is too soft to get out, correct?
Forest Service will not do search and rescue, but if they called search and rescue, they would go.
Right.
The county. And then, of course, it's on their responsibility to have it towed out.
And I'm going to mispronounce it again. I want to call it Berry Park. Help me.
Bear Eye?
Bear Eye Park. Permission to approach again, Jim.
Yes.
Actually, show us where Bear Eye Park is on People's 219.
It would be located here. There's one meadow here, and another small meadow right here.
Okay. And go ahead and stay there for a second. I believe you testified on direct that Bear Eye Park is a popular place for campers, correct?
That is correct.
And can you explain to the jury why that is?
It's flat. It's a beautiful location. There's
creek that flows through in this area.
And safe to say that in Bear Eye Park, there's a number of what I imagine you call primitive camping spots, like areas where if you were driving down the road, you'd see a fire ring and it looked like a place where people would go car camping or camping. Safe to say?
Very safe to say.
Can you estimate how many camping sites are up there?
Objection, relevance.
What's the relevance?
Goes to the amount of traffic and people who would be up there if they saw someone trying to dispose of a body, Judge.
It's not relevant for this case, I wouldn't think.
Well, the people's thesis.
Hold on. Is it likely that people would be up there at the end of November?
Hunting season ends,
And hunting season would have been over with.
Objection leading, respectfully. And I have a whole, and Judge, I'm gonna ask the,
I understand your objection. I'm not seeing the relevance, and I'm gonna make the objection. And, I'll try not to lead next time I ask you.
the judge was just asking you about hunting season. And you've already testified this area is popular with hunters, correct?
correct.
And generally speaking, hunting season is over by about Thanksgiving.
That's correct.
But prior to Thanksgiving, there's a third and fourth hunting seasons up there.
Yes,
And by up there, I mean on Middle Mountain, right?
yes,
And
the unit 74.
Unit 74.
75.
And the general public can buy hunting licenses to go up there. You can get that over the counter to go to Middle Mountain.
For second and third rifle, you can buy over the counter.
So hunting season runs up until Thanksgiving, popular area with hunters, and you can buy permits over the counter to go up there, correct?
Correct. Fourth
Did you
rifle,
did you want to sit down?
doesn't matter.
I got one more question.
All right.
Can you point to the jury again where Runlet Park is?
Runlet Park is up here.
Okay. And is that a popular area with campers?
No, it's not. Very high elevation and exposed and generally sloped.
How about hunters?
I would say at the beginning of the Runlet Park and, for when they're walking and stalking, but they're not camping.
What do you mean by walking and stalking when you're referring to hunters?
When you are trying to hunt game, you have to follow it and track it down. And stalking would be once you located it and you're trying to sneak up close enough to get your shot.
No further questions.
All right. Any redirect?
Yes, thank you. And you can have a seat, Mr. Botsford, thank you. Let's just pick up where council left off. Are you aware that, hunting season generally ends around November 18th? Does that sound right?
Yes, at the end of fourth rifle.
Fourth rifle, is that the final hunting season?
Yes, it is.
So when council said it actually goes up till Thanksgiving, that's not accurate.
It depends on the season. I mean, Colorado Parks and Wildlife changes the seasons depending on the year.
If I showed you the Colorado Parks and Wildlife hunting season documentation for 2012, would that be helpful to you?
That'd be fabulous. Okay?
Is that reliable information by your understanding?
Yes. It looked like the proclamation.
The proclamation, what's that?
The proclamation is what details to hunters the regulations of hunting, season dates, and how to apply for tags.
Is that something that is generally accepted in the community as reliable information?
Yes.
I'd ask the court to take judicial notice. And what was the date on that? Hunting season for 2012, when did it end?
Fourth rifle was November 14th through the 18th.
Okay, so there's no actual hunting after November 18th, it's legal, is that correct?
Correct. In that, for those units.
For those units?
There's private land hunts that go well into January, but they're once again, private land,
Okay, and we're referring specifically to Middle Mountain.
which is public land, correct?
Okay. So on Middle Mountain, no hunting after November 18th.
For elk and deer, yes.
And when does the hunting day come to a close?
At sunset.
Sunset. So sunset, November 18th, fourth rifle season ends on Middle Mountain, correct?
Correct.
Did you want me to take judicial notice?
Well, if there's no objection to the evidence coming in, that's fine.
All right, that's fine.
Council was exploring with you this concept that it would be difficult to drive up there, but you said people actually try it all the time. Is that right?
Yes.
And an ATV actually might even be a better vehicle than a regular car because of the knobby tires. Fair to say?
It would be a better vehicle if you deflated the tires so you can run lower pressure, which would disperse the pressure on the snow out.
And by deflating the tires, my understanding is that you would need to put tracks on it to be successful in that endeavor. Is that correct?
That's correct.
As to the gate, we talked about how the San Juan sledders use it all winter till the snow begins to deteriorate and the road will no longer support it, correct?
Yes.
And do they announce to the community when the gate is going to be closing again in the spring?
No.
How would one find out if the gate is open or closed in April of any given year?
They would have to call the Forest Service, and then I, in return, would call San Juan sledders and say, are you done grooming? And if you are, have you closed the gate?
Okay. Could people just go up there and check?
Yes, Middle Mountain Road melts out at the lower elevations earlier, so they could drive a car and then walk on the snow to find out if they wanted to walk that far.
Okay. And that depends on the year, right?
Correct.
Okay. We talked about the lock on the gate. Do people ever cut that lock?
Yes, it has been cut many times.
Many times. Is that a frequent issue for you in Forest Service, making sure that that gate remains locked?
Scope, objection.
Well, I think the issue is whether or not people could get up there. But he's already answered. I think you can move on.
Okay. I have no further questions for you. Thank you.
All right, I know we have at least one question. Any more? Council? Okay. Yeah, no. Okay, does that exhibit 219 highlight the entirety of Middle Mountain Road, or does the red line stop short of the actual end of Middle Mountain Road?
The red line does not show the full entirety of the road. I mean, it shows, the red line is stopped short of what the public can drive on any given day when the road is open.
Okay. And there are often youth turkey tags available a week before and a week after Thanksgiving. Does this occur? I mean, is that allowed up in Middle Mountain, or does it occur up in the Middle Mountain area?
Turkey hunting, yes.
Okay. Any other questions based on that?
Very briefly. I'd just like to show you exhibit number 23. Where does the road in Middle Mountain actually come to an end? Let me ask it like this. Are you familiar with an area called Tuckerville?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
That is the end of the road where there's another locked gate.
Okay, and I'm just gonna show you another map here. On the top right corner of that map, we see, is that also Middle Mountain Road?
Yes, it is.
And does that show the full extent up to the Tuckerville area?
Yes.
And then, the juror's question referred to turkey tags, in the Thanksgiving time period. Is that something that occurs on Middle Mountain as well?
Yes.
Is that a popular hunt or fewer people than elk and deer season?
I would say it's less popular than deer and elk.
Thank you. No further questions.
Less popular than deer and elk, but there's still hunters up there looking for turkeys, right?
Correct.
And also, during that time period, particularly after Thanksgiving, folks can harvest Christmas trees up there as well, correct?
Yes, people can harvest Christmas trees until December 31st.
Nothing further.
Can this witness be excused?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes, please.
All right, thank you very much. You're free to go.
Thank you.
Mhm.